Police department was there. The guy was up on the sign at one point in time, throwing money down the street.
Oh my God.
Hello and welcome to the Daktronics Experience Podcast. I'm Justin Oxner, here as always with Matt Anderson. Today we're joined by Chad Harris, owner of Las Vegas Billboards. He's here to talk about his experience in the out-of-home industry, including how he got started, how he's using his inventory of digital billboards, and he even shares a fun story about a billboard on the Las Vegas Strip. And we're here today with Chad. Chad, how you doing?
Good, guys. How are you?
Pretty good. Matt, how you doing over there?
Hey, I'm doing good, Justin. Thanks for asking.
Oh, anytime.
So we have Chad on today. We've kind of talked with you a little bit before, but for our listeners, could you maybe give us an introduction or a background of who you are?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for having me on today, guys. Chad Harris, owner of Las Vegas Billboards, company that's founded by my father in 1987. We're a local billboard provider here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We got a wide network of digital signs and static signs, and been in the billboard industry my whole life and love what I do.
Nice. It's always good to hear that you love what you do. It sounds like you're winning right now.
We're doing pretty good. Vegas as a whole is doing really well as well.
Okay. So you said your dad started the business. So how long would you say you've been in it? You said kind of your whole life? You kind of born into it?
I was literally born into it for as long back as I can remember. Going out to job sites with my father and watching him change vinyl, build structures. I'd be playing in the desert with my little G.I. Joe guys and watching him do his thing. And when I turned 16, I was fortunate enough to get a old used Ford Bronco. And with that Bronco, my father said I get my first job. And that job was checking sites for make sure the lights were on. And other sites we had generators. I would service the generators, fuel them, change oil and fluids and stuff. And it was literally my first job at 16 and been doing it ever since.
A little bit of getting your hands dirty right away, getting in there.
Absolutely.
So did your dad ever, he probably did tell you, but what was his main, reason for starting out the billboard company? Like, how did that even begin?
No, gosh, my dad tells me the story. He got a specific date, like June 14th, 1972.
Oh, wow.
He was working at a mall and ran across a customer that was in a billboard business in Florida. And the guy convinced him to come over and start selling ads for that company. And he didn't look back after that. And it's taken him from Florida to Alabama, and then a short stint in Texas.
Oh, wow.
And then we moved here to Las Vegas in 1983.
Wow.
Okay. So since then, would you say like the majority of your business has been local right in Las Vegas?
For us, yes. We're purely a Las Vegas company, and all of our inventory is in Las Vegas. We have dabbled in the past with some consulting in Los Angeles, in the Phoenix market, helping out some other operators over there when they were developing their digital signs, helping them get them set up and establishing their sales. But our inventory is purely here in Las Vegas.
So how did you, I'm going to ask you kind of how many locations do you have in Vegas, but I'm also kind of curious, how does that even start? Is when you are looking for either a new place to get a billboard, do you buy existing billboards? How does that even number get to where it's at, I guess?
Yeah, so historically, we would organically develop sites. We'd go out, bird dog locations, get them permitted, and then build the locations from scratch. In 2004, Clark County banned any new billboards. So since then, all of our new acquisitions have been through purchasing sites, or we've developed other sites where we've converted static billboards to digital billboards. So moving forward today, all of our new development is through acquisitions.
Okay. So with these billboards, you said you're local to Las Vegas, but does that mean that your advertisers on your billboards and stuff, are they local to Las Vegas or are they national as well?
So the last numbers we looked at last year, about a third of our business, a little less than a third, 30%, were from national advertisers.
Okay.
The national advertisers see Las Vegas as a fairly large market. Even though we're low in the local DMA, with only about 2.5 million residents, we get about 42 to 44 million tourists annually. So when you factor the tourists with the local population, moves us into a top 10 DMA. And the national advertisers have realized that and are pushing a lot more national business to Vegas.
Nice. So there's a lot of eyeballs coming in there, seeing everything going on, and even just from the tourist perspective, there's other things going on, other big projects going on in the area as well that kind of bring a lot of people in. It seems like Las Vegas might be kind of booming. Is that correct?
Yeah, the economy here is booming. Vegas as a whole we're in I call it another renaissance. Source very similar to the early '90s when there was a lot of projects on the Strip being built. I read an article earlier this week. There's $26 billion worth of major construction projects in the pipeline.
Wow.
Yeah, so with $26 billion in projects, it goes to show you that the town is going to grow significantly over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, it's been a little while. So I've been at Daktronics for about 12 years, and when I started out, we did a lot of technology trade shows. I was involved in product marketing, and I think it was like 3 every year that were in Las Vegas. So it used to be I would go out there very regularly, but I haven't been out there in quite a while. But yeah, every time, even then when I was going out, there was always some gigantic construction of something going on. I mean, there's never I don't know, Justin's going to correct me if this is a double negative. There's never nothing going on.
That is a double negative.
Yeah, that is a double negative.
There's always something going on in Vegas, 24/7.
That's a lot better than how I phrased it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned the convention center. They're right in the middle of doing a $1 billion expansion, which is set to be completed, I think, in early 2021. So the convention business has been a great provider for tourists coming into town. I think they've seen that, and they're literally tripling in size.
Yep. Yeah, there's been some really big shows that they house there. You mentioned, the different how the population is a mix of local people and tourists.
Yep.
And Justin even mentioned, that's a lot of eyeballs on there, but that's because of the large percentage of tourism. It's like it's a lot of different eyeballs, right? So is that kind of where, like you had said, those national advertisers come in? Because that when it comes to like looking at a tourist audience, that could be anyone from anywhere, like
a large demographic.
Yeah,
it's literally a worldwide destination. And Las Vegas is the gambling mecca of the world, but along with gambling, there's a lot more to Vegas that is drawing a lot more different eyeballs. The gaming, along with the shopping, restaurants, shows. Being in Las Vegas, we're not too far, an hour to 2 hour flight from, pretty much anywhere in the United States. And we're getting a lot more international direct flights to McCarran Airport. It's one of the busiest airports in the United States. So it's literally a worldwide audience coming to Vegas.
Yeah, not that it's a large chunk of the audience, but South Dakota, our airport in Sioux Falls, there's not a lot of direct flights out of there, but I remember there's always Vegas direct flights too, so that's even what we would use when we go to the shows was just straight there.
Yeah, this might surprise you, Matt. I actually have been to Las Vegas.
Whoa.
I don't usually get to go anywhere because, not trips for work, but I have been to Las Vegas.
It wasn't for work though?
It was for a different type of convention that I went there once, so I got to check out the convention center there and see a few different things while I was there, but it was for a convention. But yes, I did get to go to Las Vegas.
Dang, I like to try and stump Justin on going places where he can't say the same thing.
Yeah,
right.
And he already brought up his intern days of getting to go to these trade shows, so I had to throw in there. I have been there once.
So Chad, you had mentioned the mix of billboards you have right now though is static and digital, right? So I'm not sure if I missed a number, but like, what is your breakup of that? How many do you have that are digital versus static?
Right now we have 26 digital faces. October 1st, early October, we'll add 2 more panels to that mix to give us a total of 28 digital panels. And then we have 40 static digital panels. We've shifted the majority of our inventory over to digital It allows us to gain many more advertisers versus, the traditional static billboard only allowing one. Our digital signs, we run a 60-second loop with 10-second spots with 6 advertisers within the loop. So each panel gives us 6 advertisers versus only having one traditionally static.
Nice. When did you start making the transition over? Because you've been in the industry for a while, so they were all static at some point, right? So when did you start, seeing that value of digital and transitioning over?
Sure. We built our first 2 digital panels in 2006.
Okay.
With another provider that wasn't Daktronics. We learned our lesson with them, and we ended up going over to Daktronics after another opportunity presented itself to convert. I guess it was 11 panels. We did 11 panels in 1 year.
Okay.
And with Daktronics, and you guys were by far the most superior provider for equipment that we had found. We literally, my father and I traveled around the country, and around the world, looking at different manufacturers and providers, and no one beats your guys' quality of panel, software, and customer service, which to us, being a small local provider, we're not a major corporation, publicly traded, and it was important to us that we had somebody that gave us equipment and provided customer service and would stand behind what they sold us.
Yeah.
And you guys have fulfilled all of that for us.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words.
You.
Is there, and you don't have to get into detail, but you mentioned it was kind of different when you started going with Daktronics versus the first company you had. What were some of the main differences that you did notice?
Well, gosh, first thing would be the quality of the panel, the quality of what we saw at the manufacturer's facility compared to what was delivered to us in person was night and day. I'll say that. The craftsmanship of the wiring, the electrical, was just not very good for our first provider. And then, the service and software support, it was absentee. We'd call and zero response, and the software we were provided was, it was just not very good. So it was literally night and day when you compare products.
Awesome. So you guys did come up to Brookings here, or just come to Sioux Falls?
Yeah, we went to Sioux Falls, and it was snowed over. We were there for a couple days.
That was my next question: was when did you come visit?
Yeah, I can't remember when it was, but I remember there being snow and it being very cold.
Yeah, you had probably a 75% chance of catching us on a snowy day.
Right. Yeah, but we toured your facilities, and they were really top notch too. It was like going into a surgical facility with everything was so clean and pristine, and seeing the way you guys test in and wear in the product was really cool to see.
That's awesome. Yeah, we always try to get people to come up and visit us up here. I think sometimes people don't realize that a state like South Dakota can have a technology company, even to the size that we have. There was a taxi cab driver in Orlando one time. She had asked where I was from. I said South Dakota, and she asked, if we have internet in South Dakota. So it's one of those, I get a lot of random weird questions when I travel about South Dakota. So it's kind of cool that you guys were actually able to come up and see it firsthand.
So I get random questions when you tell people you're from Las Vegas. They ask me if I stay at a hotel on the Strip. That's where I live.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no houses, just hotels everywhere.
Right.
Vegas is just the Strip.
So we've heard you got this good size inventory, 26 moving up to 28. Are they pretty standard sizes, or do you have some different sizes of billboards out there?
So 23 of our current panels are standard 14 by 48 bulletins. Okay. We have 3 in service that are 10 by 20s. We call them matchsticks. They're vertical units, which the property owner wanted to develop that type of signage on his property. It's going into the tourist corridor, coming out of the airport, going into the strip area. So you want something unique, something different. We developed these signs. They're 8 millimeters, very high definition, crisp, clean, great looking signs. And then the two that we're adding here, 1st of October, those are going to be 20 by 30s, where again it's a shopping center, and they wanted to develop something different on their property. So we look to aim to please when we partner with our property owners. We make sure that whatever we build fits well with their development.
Yeah, it was one of the questions I kind of was thinking in my head too. When we think of billboards, especially in the Midwest too, it's usually just a big, long, narrow sign on the top of a pole by an interstate. I mean, but you guys obviously being in Vegas, you have a lot of different ways these are installed. You mentioned shopping centers. What kind of places do you have these billboards at? Are they all just on the side of a highway, interstate, or do you get involved when it's into town? How does that work?
Yeah, so majority of our inventory is on the interstate. That's where we get the highest, obviously, traffic counts.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But we do have quite a few that are on well-trafficked arteries, shopping centers, and local suburbs, you could say. But I'd say most of our inventory is along the interstate.
And is that how you kind of market that sometimes? Is you're going to get so many people coming by to see this because of its location, or how are what are the different ways that you actually go about marketing your billboards?
So a lot of people, they just want the eyeballs. They want the traffic count.
Okay.
Others, it may be a directional need where, the business or the service is within proximity of the sign. But for the most part, we do pitch by our traffic count because we do have such a high daily effective circulation. We have some boards that get 1 million cars a week.
Wow.
That's a lot of eyes seeing a sign, and it doesn't matter where your business is. You've got that many viewers, you're bound to push traffic to your service or your business.
Absolutely. You mentioned the different sizes, even the matchstick ones going on. Are there any other, trends that you're seeing in that area? Are people starting to switch up the way the display looks?
One thing that we're looking at recently is a lot more of the strip properties are looking to develop their own signage on site and start selling off-premise advertising. So a lot more spectaculars possibly are going to be coming to market where you have wall mounts and literally sides of hotels that are going to become digital signs. I see that being a trend coming into the market. But, as far as from the advertisers' demand, Vegas, the majority of our inventory are 14 by 48 bulletins.
Mm-hmm.
And that's typically what they see and that's what they want.
I suppose that's what they're most familiar with, too, when it comes to making content, right? Does your company, how do you guys handle that when you have the billboard, you're selling advertisement in these, you said 60-second loops? How does it go when it comes to the content making side of that? Because obviously you want the billboard to look good, so it's not saying it's your business being up there, but it is kind of because you want to make sure it looks good that other advertisers would want spots on there.
That's one thing that's very important to our company is our advertiser we consider them our partners. Mm-hmm. We help consult the entire way along with creative, changing creative, their messaging, how it fits in with their business. Hopefully we want to provide them not just the service and the billboards, but we also want to provide consulting with them to help them best fulfill their needs. Mm-hmm. We have an in-house graphic artist, and we work directly with our guy, and our sales reps work with our advertisers, and we change creative within minutes now with the digitals. We allow our advertisers to run as many pieces of content they want. We have some advertisers running 50 to 100 pieces of content any given month.
Oh, wow. Because that's also something, you mentioned the 60-second loops, but part of the advantage of having a digital billboard, right, is you could even do by times a day. I mean, you can break it up however you want, pretty much, right?
Yeah, a lot of the casinos are doing a lot of day partying and partying of the week, mm-hmm. Running specials, for over the weekend or during the week. That's one thing I think that trend hasn't caught on so much in Las Vegas. I can't say for other parts of the United States, but it's almost an underutilized aspect of digital. Is digital allows you to do so much, and people just forget that they can do it. So we do promote, our sales reps promote to our clients to utilize it as much as possible.
Yeah, and how are they using that digital? Sometimes you talked about content, you want to make it look good. Are there any types of content that you're seeing a lot? Is it the standard, okay, somebody's driving by this, we can only have so many words on it while they're trying to read it? Or are you dabbling in different types of campaigns and people putting social media or any other different types of things on those billboards?
Sure. I'm a big fan of keeping it simple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
When you're driving by a billboard, you can only digest so much.
Yep.
Yeah.
Traditionally, people want to put a phone number up there. We push strongly to move away from phone numbers and push websites. Push websites on your ads.
Okay.
Because it's a lot easier to remember a name versus 7 to 10 digits.
Randomly you put in there.
Right.
Right. So pushing a website, keeping the ad simple. I'm also a big fan of using RSS feeds.
Okay.
So that way the daily message is changing, or even, every time it changes, the message changes. There's a different message.
Okay.
That way it keeps your ad fresh. You're not having stale content running on the signs.
You mentioned the the advantages of going digital too. I was thinking about when you say you have a designer in-house that helps set things up, and just the ability to create it, upload it, schedule it out, from a computer, working with advertisers. When you started going digital, did you just start, I wouldn't say you dread it, but when it goes to changing out static billboards, how do you handle that side of it? I mean, that's got to be a pretty intense process to do.
Yeah, so all of our static changes, we outsource to a company. It's just easier for us, so we don't have crews and that liability for all that overhead.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say before we got into digital, you think uploading content and set it and letting it play seems like a fairly simple thing, but there is quite a bit of work involved. And one thing we did realize after a period of time is the turnover and the volume of work you have associated with digital is a little bit more than to be expected. It's a good thing. But there is a little bit more work, involved with constantly changing creative. And we have a person on staff who handles our scheduling.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a secondary person that backs him up. But initially, I was the one uploading and changing content. And after a period of time, I realized, business was going well. And that's all I was doing was essentially trafficking content. And after a period of time, we ended up hiring a person.
Were you designing some content?
No, I'm not a graphic designer by any means, but I was programming. Working in Visicon at the point in time.
Okay,
we were using you guys.
Yep.
Which we were a big fan of. We recently moved over to Venus, the Venus Control Suite, which I tell you what has really changed the way we work. It's a lot more efficient, user friendly. Provides a little bit better navigation on the site. It really helps us keep organized and allows us to do the things we want to do.
Awesome. Yeah, I was thinking when I was asking that static one, it was a long time ago. I remember in college I worked at some people may not know this, but Blockbuster. There was a Blockbuster in my town. And part of it was going out and switching out, even just the lettering on a sign that was out there for saying like what new movie was coming by. And again, You mentioned Justin, 75% of the time it's snowy and cold out. I remember being out there trying to spell out what movie was coming out with a suction cup long arm type thing. That was just miserable.
Yeah. Well, that brings up another kind of question here is, with digital, you said you're actually spending a decent amount of time switching out the creative versus your static. So when somebody purchases your static, is that a monthly commitment or longer, and how does that compare versus the digital content that you can day part out?
Sure. So, there's a couple of aspects there. With our static billboards, we do look to get at least a minimum of a month.
Okay.
Just because you have the lead time of printing the vinyl, then going out and installing the vinyl. We look to get at least a minimum of a month long term.
Okay.
Versus digital, we've had people that have gone out and proposed to their wives or wished happy birthday or things of that nature. And the ad's been up for an hour or a day.
Nice.
And we're seeing a lot more of our advertisers, good or bad, wanting shorter term digital contracts. So it does create a larger volume of turnover. But it's we're getting a good price point for those short term contracts.
Yeah.
And you still have a mix of annual deals as well.
Okay. Yeah, it might even open up some new opportunities, because I don't know how many people would go make a month-long commitment on a billboard for a proposal.
Right.
What if they said no in the proposal, and it was just like every time they drove by the billboard, they were reminded of that constantly?
I always worry about that, right? Yeah. But in Las Vegas, there's things are always changing, like you said, and there's always something going on. And with that, it presents the digital allows us to sort of keep up with those changes. And, if there's a nightclub act that gets the Vegas flu and he gets sick that night before and he doesn't want to perform, we're able to remove that messaging and change it out within a moment's notice.
Nice.
I didn't even think about that aspect of it. So you're a company that, helps other companies promote themselves. I'm kind of curious, what are ways that you go about to help market your own company?
It's about a year ago, we did a trial run with the social media and a lot of advertising. And I was hesitant to do so because what you just said right there, we're a company that advertises others. And then I'm going on using other tools to promote myself.
Yep.
One thing we don't do is on our digital signs, we don't do self promos. So we don't really necessarily promote ourselves on our own signage.
Okay.
The reason we do that is we give that available space, that available time back to our clients as added value. So my thought was, since we're not utilizing our own billboards, let's look at doing the different social media channels and things of that nature and advertise there. We got a lot of looky-loos, people that are interested in what we do, not necessarily people with budget that I don't want to say could afford advertising, but didn't necessarily have what it took to be on billboards as far as budgets. So we spent a year with social media. Did not go that well for us, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this past year, we're spending more money. We're devoting more money towards our SEO and our website, improving our website. Gotcha. That to us is it's another salesperson on the street. It's a virtual salesperson, and we're getting a lot more better traffic, I should say, through those improvements devoted to their website.
I suppose you're going after, companies, right? You mentioned you have national advertisers, so that you talked about the range of people that work with you, but then when you turn around and think of it, of you trying to get people to do advertisements with you, you got local based, but then you also got to try and attract national brands as well. So that's got to be a little challenging.
Sure. We have our sales reps once, twice a year. We'll go to Madison Avenue and work in New York, and they'll go to Chicago and they'll go to LA, and they'll work those markets. And then we have some purely dedicated sales reps that work nothing but the local market.
Okay.
And developing those advertisers as well. So we do, we have our hands all over the place trying to bring people to Las Vegas because we see it as such a great place. We all love Las Vegas. And like I said earlier, with 42 million tourists coming to town and 2.5 local residents, the national advertisers are definitely seeing Vegas as a good market to advertise in.
Yeah, and I suppose, like you mentioned, there's so many different people coming in that you've got so many different marketers that might want that attention from national to local. So you kind of have to be a little bit all over the place to kind of satisfy the need and the want for all the attention in the area.
Right.
So I think we had talked about in one of our previous calls before we started recording. There was some drone footage that we were helping you guys out with. We haven't caught up, I guess, in a week or so since we had that discussion. Do you have any new news on what happened with the drone footage? Yeah,
so I actually met with the vendor you guys used, and we've engaged with him. He's going to go out, it's a guy and his wife. They're going to go out and take drone footage of all of our sites.
Oh wow, all of them.
You guys really inspired me to run with it a little bit further. Initially I did some drone footage a few years ago. I think the timing was a little premature. The technology maybe wasn't as good then. The footage we took was a little grainier. And what you guys shot with your rep or your vendor here was great. It was high definition, very good footage. And like I said, we've engaged him to go out and do professional photos, drone footage. We're going to do some short commercials, things of that nature.
Nice.
And put all that on our website to showcase the billboards a little bit more. What we had in our conversations, as I described it, is billboards a steel pole with some advertisers, and how can you make billboards sexy? And that's what we're trying to make them a little sexier.
Well, it's a different perspective of seeing them too, right? From a drone look, instead of, I'd imagine when you're trying to get pictures of these, it's normally off the side of the road, trying to get a nice picture while cars are going by. And
right, it's great when you take pictures. It allows the advertiser to see what the cars see. But what I also like about the drone footage, you're allowed to see more of the surrounding area.
Yeah.
And, get a better grasp of what's around the billboard versus just the street view.
Right.
Good point.
Right. Nice. Along with the drone footage, do you have any good stories from your experience in the business? I know trying something new with the drones, or from installing or working with anybody different.
One of my favorite stories is a few years back, there's a gambling website, sportsbook.com or something like that.
Okay.
And we put $100,000 in $1 bills up on a sign enclosed in a plexiglass case. And while we were doing it, my father and I we were almost laughing to ourselves. I wonder how long it'll take before somebody tries to break into it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, so the Advertiser sportsbook place, they literally hired security guards that stood at the base of the pole, and this is on Las Vegas Boulevard, right in the heart of the Strip.
Oh man.
And it's like, hey, come steal me. Well, later that night, about 2 a.m, there's a McDonald's across the street, and the security guard went to have his lunch break.
Oh no!
And guess what happened? So I get a call from the security company that police department was there. The guy was up on the sign at one point in time throwing money down the street.
Oh my God.
It was a big deal. It made some national news, and come to find out, the sportsbook place had a wagering line on how long it would take before it to get broken into. And it was all a big PR stunt for them to get a lot of publicity and news. But that's one I'll never forget. Literally going to the bank and getting $100,000 in $1 bills, which is a lot of money.
It's like we see in movies.
Right. And you're driving around with it, worried about someone breaking into it to come bringing it back to our shop and putting it into this plexiglass case. It was quite a trip.
Did you keep the amount of people that knew that you had that case to a few, I'd imagine?
Oh gosh, it was like top secret around here what we were doing.
What are you doing over there, Chet? Nothing.
Well, what's that case for? I don't know.
What's in the bag?
Why is that briefcase handcuffed to your wrist?
Yeah, right. No, it was like something out of a movie, the whole experience. It was quite crazy.
It's funny that someone went up there not just to break into it and take it, but apparently play Robin Hood and start throwing it all over for other people.
Right.
Oh, that's
they got a good showing out of it.
Yeah, that's a nice piece of guerrilla marketing there.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, Chad. I don't know. Is there any other points you want to cover today? I think we've kind of gone through a lot of the stuff that we wanted to chat with you about. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, for me, it's I really appreciate the time with you guys, and Daktronics as a company as a whole. Really appreciate what you guys have done for my company and the partnership we've developed. Anything I can do for you guys, I really appreciate it, and I look forward to working with you guys for many, many more years to come.
Wow, yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Chad. Yeah, let us know next time you're up in South Dakota too. We'll make sure we meet up.
Yeah, Hopefully
I'll
plan
see you
for
guys
summer.
real soon.
Yeah, don't do it in the wintertime.
All right. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Daktronics Experience podcast. For more information, visit www.daktronics.com.